Do you ever hear these stories and think, hey, something's not right here? Maybe OP is leaving something out. Well, this video is a perfect case of exactly that. OP whines about his entire party only for them to absolutely annihilate him in the comments. But first, this D&D story is sponsored by... What? A D&D story? On this channel, we like to get down and dig up the absolute worst of this hobby sometimes, but why not take a break and remind ourselves of what makes it so amazing? Introducing Relentless. Patty Finn took one for the team and finally did what so many people have always wanted to do. Write a novel about their D&D campaign. Oh yeah, this plug is for the bookworms here. This story has developed over 5 years and spans 3 novels. The first of which is available to back on Kickstarter. Relentless has all the cool stuff you've come to recognize in your D&D campaigns. A rich tapestry of races and classes, epic lore and characters, magic, monsters, shenanigans, and a story with more twists than a snake pit. So if you struggle to play as much D&D as you would like, if that one player keeps canceling at the last minute, messing up everyone's plans, don't lie to me. I know that's happened. I know that's happened to you if you play this game. Why wait for your next game when you can get Relentless? Back on Kickstarter after the video. Roll post. Up until tonight, I was part of a D&D 5e group that consisted of 6 people, including myself, which met on r/LFG and played via Roll20. The DM, a chaotic good cleric of Valcour, a chaotic neutral changeling rogue, a neutral good wild sorcerer, a neutral good homebrew Phoenix warlock, and a lone wolf ranger. I had thought during the time I was in the group that my tension with the only characters was only in character. No one ever approached me until a few days ago that my resistance to just going along with the murder hoboism was upsetting people out of character, and I only learned when the DM started messaging me that the others were complaining to him about me. To make a few things clear, at Session 0 we never discussed this would be a murder hobo game. We emphasized that this was a roleplay heavy group and no rules against party conflict. So, until recently, I didn't even know I was causing an incident. I tried to defend my actions over the last few days as just part of consistent roleplay, and to compromise by offering to play a chaotic neutral bard. But the DM said he didn't want a new character, he wanted me to change my current character. Also, I want to make clear, even now, I do not feel bitter towards the players and DM, only hurt. To explain how the tension started, I need to go all the way back to our first session. For the record, we have had 7 or 8 so far, and to the ranger, who I will bring up a lot over the course of this post, I really didn't think I had issues with any other players until a few days ago. There was little to not like about the other PCs in and out of character. A tall, dark, and brooding stranger, a party girl, and a level-headed sailor. I'll go over my warlock when I think it's more relevant to the story. It started with the ranger player's inspiration for the character as an emotionally broken war veteran who is quite literally a hobo. He got the idea from a book. His first action in the game is to insist the DM start his character in jail for vagrancy, which meant to get the gang together, we all had to somehow get arrested Session 1. Once we met him, it was pretty clear what kind of character he was going to be. Completely aloof and uncaring about the world around him. His second act as a character was to demand more pay from the employer who bailed us out of jail, and to wipe his dirty hands on the employer's fine robes. All of this is not really bad, but I think it's worth bringing up, because my self-described paragon of neutral goodness did not take a liking to this character early on. There are a series of small incidents that I think was good roleplay by the Rangers player and gave me opportunities to roleplay by calling him out for being a jerk to everyone around him, with the crowning achievement of the jerk meter being stealing a 1,000 gold piece spyglass from our benefactor. But I'm going to skip all of that and cut to the chase. 2 things stand out more than anything else to me. First, his voluntary absence from the group. every time we had downtime, he never hung out with us as a party. If given the chance, he left our hub town and went to a village about 2 days distance away. The rogue and I, on multiple occasions, tried our hardest to get the ranger to participate in our group game, but he would actively brush off quests we tried to get him involved in. That is probably the only exception I have to the tension being all in character. I thought others wanted to involve him so he didn't sit in silence for hours, but I was wrong on that count too. Second major incident, which started this whole affair, was when the ranger player decided it was in character for his PC to set a warehouse we were investigating on fire, in the middle of a crowded commercial district of our hub city. This led to an out-of-control fire, which I have dubbed the San Francisco Fire of 1492. End result of the fire was 12 innocent dead and around 100 injured people. While the whole group was trying to put out the fire, the ranger decided he was going to flee the scene of the crime, and that is where my last session with this group ended. Here, I think it's a good place to quickly go over my own character to give perspective on what had come before and what was coming after. Short version is, my warlock was raised as a farm girl with dreams of learning magic and becoming like the heroes of legends the bards sing about. My intent had always been for her to have a strong desire for justice, regardless of law versus chaos. So when the ranger did such a heinous thing, as in the case of the fire that did so much damage, and his flight, I thought it was only natural for not just a neutral good character, but anyone with a moral compass to bring the ranger to justice. This did not sit well with the group. They assumed I wanted to hunt the PC down. I did not. I wanted to continue the quest, but I got how they came to that conclusion, and I explained I only meant that my warlock would attack if the ranger returned. They didn't say it then, but apparently that was not good enough. Despite a lack of rules against PvP and even some light PvP from the ranger during our sessions, he would punch people he was mad at, attack rules and everything. Oh, but apparently I had crossed a line. I received a message from the DM on behalf of the party. I had made the other players uncomfortable with the way I was treating their characters. It was a shock to me. As stated before, no one brought this to my attention during or between past sessions, and I thought I was getting along with all the players out of game and all but one of the PCs in game. It was made clear to me that the DM was going to force friendliness and cooperation from all the players going forward. I argued that it would break the consistency of the character I was playing and would be out of character for the whole party to welcome the ranger back as if nothing happened. It was raised to my attention, however, I was the only player not going along with the idea of welcoming an arsonist back into the group. Okay, ring ding ding, if you've been paying attention, the last batch of sentences has set alarm bells off like mad. In the vast majority of these stories, if one player is ranting about all the others, you need to pay special attention, because they are very likely the problem, not everybody else. The reason why should be obvious. In D&D, it's about having fun. If everybody's having harmless fun except for one person who's mostly just seething and pissing people off, they are outweighed by everybody else and need a really good reason to claim the moral high ground. It's not impossible, it can and has happened before, but those instances are pretty rare. What we're seeing right now is the DM trying to rein in the hostilities and patch the party back together so that they can, play the game, while OP is too busy being mad that cooperation would ruin his character's consistency. It's a decent reason from a roleplay perspective, but at the same time, he seems to be the only person with hang-ups about this when everyone else just wants to play the game like normal. It sucks, I understand where OP is coming from here. It sucks, but sometimes you gotta hand wave your cool character rivalry so that the party can actually function. But OP is about to get bodied in ways that you probably don't expect. Roll post. I told him I would not change my Warlock's morality to fit the group's forgive and forget attitude. I did, however, offer to retire the goody two-shoes and make a bard who could forgive and forget. As stated above, this was not acceptable to him, and a day after my compromise, I was let go from the group and blocked, so I couldn't even say goodbye. If you are still reading this, thank you. I needed to vent and say how much it hurt to be so out of the loop of the group politics, informed too late to make things right, and let go so easily. If any of my old D&D group are reading this, I want to repeat, I'm not mad, just hurt. Sad face. That's where his post ends, and where the hornet's nest he just kicked begins to surround him. So let's dive right in. The group's Changeling Rogue here. I must say, I absolutely love the title of your post. Cannot be further from the truth, but I guess you're entitled to say whatever you want. If we are to talk about being a murder hobo, are we going to ignore the fact that you sent death threats to my character? While I have not ever been mean to you in or out of game. You said in a chat that we considered canon, without indications that it's a joke, said that you should definitely get the drop on my character first and then kill them, because your character thought the whole group was conspiring against you. After the post session in the voice chat, you said, next time I see the ranger, it's gonna be PvP. While we did not want PvP at all. I explicitly said my rogue would not be willing to work with him anymore after this. But no, I did not want to kill him. Ranger's player understood where we were all coming from and decided to make some changes with the DM. Also, you forgot to mention all of the backseat DMing you did, how interruptive you were to the other players, talking over them while you were not in the scene at all. How aggressive you were to the DM when this whole issue was brought up, telling me how to play my rogue on multiple occasions while I had not asked for your opinion. How you sent him a long, unwanted essay on how to improve his DMing. This wasn't about the fire or the game. A lot of the players found you quite unpleasant to be around. I wanted all of this to resolve amicably, and I was the one who tried to convince the others to give you a second chance. I see that I was terribly wrong in that decision. What we learned from this comment is that people were not as much upset with his in-game actions nearly as much as they were upset with his out-of-game behavior, though both were bad. But that's far from the only person who comes at him. Everybody has a unique but consistent attack on OP, the next comment having an interesting look at how OP was removed from the group. Roll it. As the chaotic good cleric in this setting, I pretty much started this all off. I mentioned to two other players that the OP made me want to quit playing. It was a mix of both player actions, talking over other group members, constantly interrupting other players' RP scenes that they were not a part of, trying to center the entire game around their character, as well as some other issues. In-character monologue about killing the other players and eating one. Talking about hiring an assassin to kill other players. Constant monologues. You were not nice to anyone in the game except the NPCs your character knew. Major inconsistencies in your character, a complete Mary Sue who attacked and nearly killed an unarmed person who surrendered. In character chat, the OP mentioned getting the drop on and killing the rogue. This is prior to the scene mentioned in the initial post. While the rogue has been trying to be inclusive and nice to the player, I will let the rogue address their issues if they desire. But the aftermath of most sessions involved the rogue and myself discussing something that the OP did at the table that was either rude or hostile. In the end, the vote to kick OP was unanimous, and was actually unrelated to the majority of the comments above, instead focusing entirely on the level of disrespect shown to the DM. OP sent the DM rants about their poor DMing, and that we didn't want to play with someone who showed no respect to our DM. So we see, OP not only left stuff out, he seems to lack much of any introspection or self-awareness doing it. However, OP does not agree with the commenter. OP responds, I cannot agree with this characterization. If I interrupted, then I'm sorry. I mentioned constantly I was having connectivity issues. Nobody used the character chat. I'm truly sorry that what I posted was offensive. It was meant to be delusions, completely, obviously, unserious and silly. But I failed at that and I hurt all of you. I never wanted that. I didn't realize my behavior was out of hand, but that is no reason to slander me. I tried to make a flawed character, I tried to hang out with the party, but I failed. From my perspective, this issue is new. I never got details like I'm getting now. That's why it hurt. Now I am just so sorry for how blind I was. Objection. DM has something to say about that, which we're going to dissect right now. Roll it. Hi, I'm the DM for this group, and I figure I would clarify some things. You were not kicked for not being murder hobo-y enough. I tried to reiterate this to you several times in our conversation because you tried to spin it that way even in our direct messages. As you mentioned in your post, you made other players feel uncomfortable with several of your actions. You would consistently interrupt me, even if I was just describing the environment. This would include describing the world in a different way than I just had. You constantly questioned rulings, even if it had nothing to do with you. I have no problem when I ask for help with the rules, anyone letting me know what rules as written states. However, the final decision was mine, and if you didn't like it, you let your feelings be known. You would actually lay out what you thought was a better story in the middle of a session while I was DMing. You would roleplay as the other PCs at times when you felt you had a better understanding of their character. I'm sorry, holy shit, this is stupid. And how they would respond to a situation. You roleplayed murdering and eating some of the other player characters? I'm sorry, isn't OP supposed to be playing like some moral high ground, holier than thou Mary Sue? What is this? What is this? Murdering and eating other player characters? It's like completely incompatible with that type of character. I am completely lost. I'm sorry. Anyways, you went on a 15-minute monologue of how you leveled up twice. The party is level 3. This just keeps getting better. I love this. You attempted to murder a prisoner that had surrendered. Oh, that's the same thing as the other guy said. As you mentioned, you are a neutral good caretaker warlock, all while the party's back was turned. That unsettled everyone. Above all, you were rude and derisive to the other players. I have tried to tell you, this is now the 4th time that the issues with you had nothing to do with the Ranger. They had to do with your attitude and how you treated others at the table. You spent this post talking about the Ranger and how he was the source of your problem, but I made it clear that it was you. I tried to warn you, give you the chance to apologize and work to be better. Others wanted to immediately kick you, but I actually happen to like you quite a bit, despite the 5-page essay I received describing my poor DMing and incomprehensible story long before this came to the breaking point. However, you took way too long to be conciliatory. When I mentioned these issues at first, that specifically pertained to your attitude, you proceeded to lash out at me, the Ranger, and even the rest of the party for how morally bankrupt and apathetic they are. This happened over the course of 3 days in the midst of my graduation, my looking for graduate programs, getting a job, and moving. I cannot describe how hurtful and emotionally exhausting those messages were to me as a DM and as a person. I understand the need to elicit sympathy when you feel hurt, so perhaps I should not have posted this. For the other people that will read this, I want them to understand how misleading posts on this subreddit can be when only one side tells the story. Like I said to you before, I wish you the very best in life and in your future D&D campaigns. I really, really do. I just hope that in your future adventures, you consider the other players at the table and their feelings. Now, Much of OP's misbehavior was linked to his out-of-game actions, but we see here that he had an even worse record within the game as well. There's only one more comment left, so let's get through it. Hey, I'm the wild sorcerer of the party. Let's start with the ranger topic. There is no way that our characters are going to forgive about the whole fire hazard. We stated this in the after session. I did not like the fact that you decided to rip someone's character apart, saying that he was ruining the whole group, and telling us that there will be PvP when he is seen next, after we, as a group, claimed no PvP. That is not planned between characters. You also, as a player, claimed to not be a fan of it as well. The OP's character was neutral good. You fail to mention the backseat DMing, which was one of the main reasons that we brought this up to the DM. I wanted you out as soon as I heard about a 5-page essay about how poor of a DM he was and how to improve. Criticism is one thing, but you should not tear someone apart like that. I think it was rude to send in the first place and to basically send it as if you have power over a DM in general. It astounds me. I want our DM to be able to have freedom and more power over us as players so he can feel free and creative with the story. I still recall you attempting to kill the one NPC who surrendered and proceeded to chase him out of the cave. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I do not think that is neutral good. Of course, not to mention the player character chat with you thinking my character is quite, quote, chewy, and wanting to jump on our rogue in case she would kill you first. Lastly, I wish you luck with the next group that you join or run. There is no such thing as perfection, nor should anyone be perfect. Yes, it was your attitude that set my decision in this case, but I just could not let go of how you spoke in the after session and that there was even more backseat DMing than what we had already experienced. Again, I wish you luck with any future groups. OP responded to most of the party members, and while each response was slightly different, most go like this. I'm sorry I didn't see what happened in the chat room as anything more than a joke. I'm sorry I interrupted him backseated. I promised Paris, whoever that is, I would be better before I was kicked, and I will never be able to show that sincerity. I am so sorry I am sorry I characteristic this incident in the title. This was only from my perspective, which was so woefully limited. I'm sure people are tired of hearing it, but I will repeat to till the world ends. I am sorry I was a shitty player. I wish someone had told me. Sad face. No, dude, you're not doing this. The DM said in his response he tried telling you on 4 separate occasions. You can't do this I wish someone had told me routine because it doesn't work, it's another lie. Anyways, let's keep reading his apologies. They kind of get funny but also sad. I would believe them. I'm sorry I hurt them. I'm sorry is mischaracterized this whole post. My only excuse is nobody told me how bad it was. Even when the DM told me there was a problem, he was using kid gloves. Were they using kid gloves, or is some of the problem that you aren't picking up on when you are engaging in these behaviors? Look, he's being nice. He's giving him an out. He's giving this guy a chance to say, oh, I didn't know what I was doing. What does OP do? Here's his funny response. I was told I was backseat DMing. I apologize to that. I was told the monologue in the chat room was taken seriously. For not apologizing immediately, I will beat myself up over for a long time. But for the scale of time I had been a problem player, I promise you are ignorant. I legitimately believe this was an issue from the last session or 2, not 5 or 6. Legend has it, OP is still sadly beating himself up in the comments section to this day. It's just hilarious watching OP bounce all over the comments section saying different things as if we can't see that. They never told me. Wait, I mean, they did tell me, but they never said how serious it is. Even though the DM told me to stop 3 separate times while I was playing the game, there was no way for me to know it was actually serious. It's laughable, and for once, I don't need to write an outro joke, cause OP is doing it for me. Anyways, catch you on the flip, till next time.